Hello everybody, my name is Anna Pietruszewska. I'm a doctoral student of linguistics at the Doctoral School of Humanities and the Faculty of Philology at the University of Łódź. Today I'm going to present to you the results of my study titled L2 Teacher Judgments of Learner Vocabulary Knowledge, Implications for Cloze Test Design. My presentation is divided into 5 parts: introduction, methodology, results, discussion, and conclusion. First of all, let me tell you why I decided to research L2 teacher judgments of learner vocabulary knowledge. It's due to my work experience. So I was teaching and testing B1 EFL, so English as a foreign language, at a medium-sized university in China for 4 years. And as part of my responsibilities, I designed cloze listening tests together with my colleagues. The method we used was the rational deletion cloze. It means that it was up to us which words we'd decide to remove from a passage and test our students on, and these were supposed to be content words, so nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. This is an example of what a test we had to design looked like. So here you can see 5 questions, 2 multiple choice and 3 gap fills, 3 cloze items. So these questions were posed to one listening passage, 3 to 5 minutes long, that our students were supposed to understand and fill in the gaps with one word. If they managed to write each word correctly, they'd be awarded 1 point. So for example, here in items 7 and 8, we have examples of those words. The first one is eighth, and the second is qualified. However, in a case that a student wouldn't write the correct form of the word, however, they'd write the correct word. So for example, instead of writing th at the end, they'd only write the base form 8, or instead of writing the past form of qualified, they would write the infinitive qualify, they'd get half a point only. And if they made a spelling error, or they didn't write a word, or they wrote a different word, they'd get 0 points. So as you can see here, we actually tested different skills of our students, not only listening comprehension, but also the spelling. So the question I always had was, are we able to design a good cloze test? Can we choose appropriate words for testing for the level of our students? Hence my research question was, can L2 English teachers accurately predict the learner's vocabulary knowledge in L2 listening and writing for cloze tests? First, I did a literature review to verify if somebody had already answered this question before. The topic of my research was L2 teacher judgments of learner vocabulary knowledge. That's why I carried out 2 database searches, the first one in March of 2022, and then the next one in December of 2023. I searched the Web of Science and Scopus, and the phrases I used were L2 teacher judgments, vocabulary, L2 teacher perceptions, cloze, accuracy of teacher L2 assessment, and writing. And I'd only found 3 papers. Robles-Garcia and colleagues from 2023, Dang and colleagues from 2020, and Paleczek and colleagues from 2015. However, the first problem I had was 2 out of these 3 papers were made available only after I completed my study. So even though Dang and colleagues was first published in 2020, it hadn't been made available in the Web of Science before July of 2022, which is after I'd completed my data collection. And the beginning of my data collection was April of 2022. Now, another problem is that 2 the same two studies only reported the receptive vocabulary knowledge of the students. And the receptive skill they measured was reading comprehension, or rather recognition of full meaning connection. So, for example, in Dung and colleagues and Robles-Garcia and colleagues, students were presented with vocabulary lists of words written out of context, and they were asked to say whether they knew the words or not. And in Paleczek and colleagues, reading comprehension was measured together with decoding skills in a standardized test, as well as productive skills of spelling. So this particular paper was actually closer to answering the question I posed. However, in Paleczek and colleagues, the participants were children and not university students, like in my case, and the language that was targeted was L1 and L2 German and not L2 English. As for the results, Paleczek and colleagues found that teachers were not able to assess children's L1 and L2 German spelling separately from other abilities, meaning that they could judge the reading skills more accurately. However, spelling was linked to those other skills. So actually, according to my research, my literature review, nobody had asked themselves the same question. So can L2 English teachers accurately predict the learner's vocabulary knowledge in L2 listening and writing for cloze tests? My study had a quasi-experimental design. It was carried out in the spring term of 2022 at the English Language Center at a university in China. Participants consisted of a student sample and a teacher sample. The student sample was 47 undergraduate non-English major first-year students of B1 English, and the teacher sample consisted of 17 out of 21 B1 teachers. I used statistics for categorical ordinal data, including central tendency measures, so mean, median, and mode, and non-parametric tests, such as the chi-square test of independence and the p-value for significance testing, and Kramer's V for strength testing. So as for the procedure, first, a cloze test was designed by 4 teachers. It was a 10 single word cloze, which was a part of a final exam. The draft of that test was then presented to all B1 teachers, after which they had to fill in an anonymous survey where they were asked to rate the appropriateness of the chosen words for the exam purposes. Then the final exam was carried out in June of 2022, after which I coded teacher and student answers and compared them using inferential statistics. So as for the teacher survey, the 10 targeted words were symbol, ceremony, 18th, women, 8th, delivering, service, qualified, poetry, and continued. And the 4 options the teachers were given were: they, so our students, wouldn't understand it, and by it I meant the capital words in question, so the cloze words. So they wouldn't understand it nor be able to write it correctly. They would only be able to understand it, that only be able to write it correctly without understanding it, and that only be able to do both, understand and write it correctly. Then I assigned codes to those answers. The codes were from 0 to 2B. Now, you may ask why I chose to assign to A and to B, to 2 of the possibilities, instead of assigning them the numbers 3 and 4 respectively. Well, the thing is that these 2 options, the only difference between them is student cognition. So, for example, If a teacher chose the third option, so they would only be able to write it correctly without understanding it, it means that such teacher would assume that the student would indeed be able to write the word correctly in an exam, so this answer would be awarded a full point. The same as the next option, which is they would be able to do both, understand and write it correctly. In these two cases, what we can see from a student in the final exam is a correctly written word, which would be awarded full points. Unfortunately, I was not able to control student awareness, student cognition during the exam, so I decided to assign the number 2 to those two possibilities and only distinguish them with different letters. The same as in the student exam answers. So the student codes, the codes I assigned the student answers were the same as in the teacher survey. So 0 was assigned to incorrect spelling or no word written, 1 to correct spelling but wrong word form, and 2 to correct spelling and word form. Now, the results. The first teacher results. So here we have a frequency distribution for the survey results, including the median and mode. And just by looking at the mode, we can see that those teachers agreed that the words chosen should be easy enough for our students to understand and write correctly, which is what the median value confirmed for 9 out of 10 words instead of the word poetry, which they thought to be a bit more difficult, but still rather easy to understand, maybe not so easy to come up with the right form. This is even clearer when I aggregated the answers. So when I added 2A and 2B together, then we can see that the median and mode are the same. As for the student answers, when we're looking at the mode and the median value, we can see a different story. So just by looking at these results, we can tell that the teachers did not or struggled with accurately predicting student outcomes. Here we have comparison of descriptive statistics of aggregated and coded teacher survey answers and student cloze test results. And the most interesting for me are the words for which the predictions differed most to the actual outcomes. So these are in red, and they include ceremony, service, qualified, and poetry. All of these words were considered by teachers to be easy to understand for our students. So our students were judged to be able to understand these words when said and be able to write them. However, the median and mode values for these words were 0 for all the students, with the mean value being slightly higher. As for the words for which the predictions, the mode and median value of teacher predictions corresponded to the student outcomes, were symbol and women, but even in those cases there is discrepancy between the predictions and the outcomes, which can be seen when we look at the mean value and the standard deviation, which in the case of the word women is 0 for teachers, meaning all the teachers judged this word to be possible to understand or expected to be understood and written correctly by our students, whereas the standard deviation for student answers is almost 1, meaning that the answers ranged from anywhere from 0 to 2, meaning that this word wasn't as easy as they expected. You cannot see the actual words that students produced. However, they did struggle with inflectional endings of words. So in words like 18th, they did not, very often, they did not write th. So that was the most common error they made. The same in the case of the word 8th. And with delivering, qualified, and continued, the most often occurring error was not adding ing or ed at the end of these words. So I still had to test my hypothesis. And the question was, should I use parametric or non-parametric tests? So to answer this question, I had to check if the teacher survey results were normally distributed, and 3 out of 4 tests I used indicated that it was not a normal distribution, so I opted for a non-parametric test, specifically the chi-square test of independence, which can determine if the 2 or more classifications of the samples are independent or not. So my null hypothesis was that accuracy level and the population type are independent, that the teacher survey results would be the same as student outcomes. So the alternative hypothesis was that accuracy level and the population type are not independent. And in this table, we can see that the chi-square critical value is 5.99, and it is smaller than the chi-square calculated value for all 10 gap-fill words. It means that we can reject the null hypothesis, meaning that the accuracy level of the words and the population type are dependent, which means that the teachers in the sample did not predict the student performance accurately. Here we can see the p-value, and we can see that it's smaller for all 10 words than the significance level of 0.05. So again, we know that we can reject the null hypothesis again. Next, I measured the effect size. So the effect size for chi-square is a quantitative measure that indicates the strength or magnitude of an observed effect. Common effect size measures in chi-square tests include Kramer's V and phi coefficients, ranging from no association 0 to perfect 1. Kramer's V is used for contingency tables larger than 2 by 2, which was the case in my study. And we can see that Kramer's V for these 10 words ranged from 0.39 to 0.80, which means that depending on the interpretation model, it's either moderate to very strong effect size. It's a moderate to very strong effect size, or a very strong effect size for all 10 words. So what does it mean for teacher-designed cloze tests? At least in the case of my study, teachers overestimated learners' productive skills, especially when it came to inflections, inflectional endings, th, ing, and ed. So the teachers probably assume that if a student understands or can understand the basic form of a word when they hear it, it automatically would mean that they'd be able to write it correctly, including the inflections of this word, which appeared to be not true in this particular case. So what could these teachers do if they indeed wanted to use cloze tests with their students, but be able to choose appropriate words a bit better? I'd suggest using vocabulary lists and vocabulary profilers, which are free of charge and can be found online, such as the one on the EAP Foundation's website or LexTutor CA. Of course, it's a small study, so more research is needed with different second languages, different language levels, different skills, teacher settings, and teacher and learner L1 backgrounds. And also reasons behind inaccuracy of teacher predictions would be worth researching further. To conclude, in my study, L2 English teachers did not accurately predict the B1 learners' productive vocabulary knowledge for a cloze task in the context of the study by overestimating the depth of said knowledge, especially of suffixes. These are the references I used in my presentation, illustrations, And if you had any questions, you're welcome to write to me at my email anna.pietruszewska@edu.uni.lodz.pl. Thank you very much.